What's going on, y'all? Episode 31, Let's Be Real podcast. Look, I know it's been a while. I think it's been about a week or two since we've had a podcast episode. Had a lot of stuff going on in life outside the podcast, so I appreciate y'all rocking with me still. But we're back. We're back and we're ready to go. We're in the kind of crunch time of the NBA season, so we're going to talk a lot of NBA. We got NFL free agency, so we're going to touch on that some. But look, as always, you know what it is. We got the wine with us. And so today what I got is a Baron de Barbon Rioja from 2021. Give this one about 7.1 out of 10. Definitely bold, definitely dry. Going to get a lot of blackberry and strawberry taste with oak, and then kind of a nice smooth finish. So good if you got like cheeses or lamb or anything like that. I would definitely say worth picking up if you're going to enjoy one of those things. But yeah, solid wine, nothing crazy, but it's good. And so with that, man, let's get into it. Look, like I said, we're going to get into the NBA. We've had a ton going on the court, off the court, uh, media, and so we're going to touch on all of it today, man. And we're going to start and just to kind of give you an idea of how long it's been. Where we're starting at is the NBA, the face of the league. And so obviously this has been kind of a hot button issue for the last week and a half, 2 weeks. Specifically, Anthony Edwards' comments talking about how he doesn't want to be the face of the league. And I get it. Like, for one, I think Anthony Edwards just when you're the face of the league, you come under so much more scrutiny as far as what you're doing off the court. And look, if y'all are following anything what's going on with Anthony Edwards off the court, it's it's not kind of what you would think of when you're thinking of face of the league. And look, he even said it. Anthony Edwards, he's kind of like that Kevin Durant, where he's like, look, I just want to come hoop, kill you, and then go home and do my thing. Like, so I get it from his standpoint. But the one I want to hone in on is LeBron's comments afterwards, because this is something that I've been saying for, years now. And LeBron finally put a voice to it, talking about, why would anybody want to be the face of a league who all the media coverage around it, everything around it is just, you know, terrible. They his words, not mine. They shit on you. And so, and look, they do. That's if you watch these guys, and I've said it before in podcasts, I've said it for years now, but the coverage of the NBA by these old players is just terrible. It's people always ask like, oh, ratings are down. Why aren't people interested in the NBA? Well, it's because every person, you got to think, man, like if you're a basketball fan, like you love basketball, you really like basketball, whatever it is, you have some semblance of like fandom in basketball, then you can hear, all these guys on TV talking about, the Chucks, the, you know, whoever, dude, name your media person who's talking about how, oh, the league's so much worse now, was way better back in the 90s, blah, blah, blah. And you can take that and be like, oh, okay, maybe like I liked it better back, but I'm going to still watch it. But the casual fan who maybe tunes into a game and that's what they hear from people maybe, they looked up to when they were younger, or just from a standpoint of these are the people covering the game. So they must have some sort of, you know, credibility around them. And if they're saying the game is bad and it's not good anymore, and, XYZ, like it used to be way better back then why would they, that's what they're hearing from, who they're perceiving as like credible sources. Why would they watch it? And so again, it's just, I completely understand LeBron's comments. It's like I said, it's something I've been saying. And it's something that the league is going to have a tough time with, because you've seen all these younger players, the Anthony Edwards, the, Ja Morant's, the whoever you want to put in, the Tatums, even though, Tatum seems like he wants it, but just he's not the guy for it. But whoever you want to put into that kind of younger generation who maybe have a chance to be a face of the league. What have they seen for the last 10 years around the coverage of the face of the league, LeBron James? It's constantly, oh, he's not Michael. Oh, he doesn't do this. Oh, he doesn't do this. Oh, he's bad. He's not this. He's not this. He's not this. Oh, MJ would have done this. MJ would have done this. MJ would have hit that shot on a random Tuesday night in Utah. Like, it's the amount of tearing down the league and LeBron, who's been the face of the league for so long, in service of keeping Michael Jordan, this deity that he's been placed as, that is all these younger kids who are in the league now have seen. And why would you want to subject yourself to that? I'm still going to get paid. I'm still going to be able to play basketball. I'm still going to get my max contracts. I'm still going to be able to do what I want off the court. And I don't have to worry about every single day. The leading story is, oh, I missed a third quarter shot that could have tied the game, or no, I didn't get a foul call and I was upset with the ref, and so now I'm that clip is got 100 million retweets, and so it's just that's all they've seen. And so why would you want to be the face of a league that does that? And it's not just from casual fans on the internet, it's the people who cover the game that are doing it. And so we're going to get into a little bit more of LeBron and some media run-ins, but that's just kind of, again, what I've felt and what I've felt for years now about just the coverage of the NBA. What the NBA needs to do is overhaul a lot of these media guys. And look, I know everybody loves the inside the NBA guys on TNT, but also let's not fail to realize that while everybody loves them, TNT is the only network ratings are down for the NBA in. Ratings were up on every other network except TNT. And look, those guys, they're entertainment. But again, it's the entertainment used to outweigh anything else. Now the agenda of, LeBron isn't Michael and Michael's the best and our league was better. Now that narrative and that agenda has outweighed the entertainment of it. And I think people are seeing that. So, but yeah, that's my thoughts on that. But look, sticking with LeBron, man, we're going to move over because he just passed a milestone of passing the 50,000 points. Look, only player to ever do it. What do you want to say? Like, dude, it's ridiculous. What we're seeing from him, we're never going to see again. And to put it in context for you guys, as far as what a player would need to do to get this, take Michael Jordan's career point per game. A player would need to average 90 games a year. So that's a full season, 2 playoff win series. So at least 2 playoff series every year for 19 seasons to do what LeBron did. Just to give you an idea. And so, again, this is something where I'm always hesitant to say we're never going to see something again, but if there was ever something we're not going to see again, it's this. A player playing at this level for this long, and there isn't a drop off. I mean, we're still watching him. He's, for the Lakers, arguably the best player on the court almost every night for him, and to watch him now, ramp it up defensively because some of that offensive burden's off his plate at 40 is incredible. But what I want to talk about, man, is the double standard that's come out with this, because inevitably, he hits 50,000 points, and the news isn't, oh, he hit 50,000 points. It's, oh, well, look how long it took him. Oh man, well, it's similarly to the 30-point games when they were like, oh, well, LeBron played how many more seasons than Mike, and Mike still got him beat? And it's like, again, going back to the coverage of it, going back to the coverage of the league, and going back to the coverage of everything in service of Michael Jordan. And so it's something that, well, yes, you do. You have to play a long time. And you know what? I'll even go as far as to say this. If LeBron in year 20 right now at age 40, if let's say he was playing for a team that never really made the playoffs, um, averaging, 19 or 20 a game, doesn't really look, doesn't really contribute to winning at all, then, maybe you could say, oh yeah, he's sticking around to pad some stats. Unfortunately, that's what Michael Jordan was doing when he was with the Wizards, and not what LeBron James is doing right now. LeBron James still very much a part of winning basketball, as we see now that he's been out. Look, he's still vital to winning. He's still putting up good numbers. He's playing better defense. Again, it's all in service of the one guy that people just can't let go of. And look, we don't even have to say it's about that, but let's take a look of, okay, if it's all about longevity and this, it's just, counting stats don't matter. How come we never heard this when Kareem was the number one scorer and scored all those points? It was never a knock on Kareem, right? We like to talk about games played, right? Because Jordan played so much less than LeBron did, and that was the thing with the 30-point games. Well, LeBron's behind Robert Parrish and Kareem in games played, but that's not brought up. Let's talk about, who else we hear a lot about how they stuck around and it was just bad and all that, right? Dirk, right? Because LeBron just passed Dirk this year for games played. John Stockton, we hear it all the time, I'm sure, right? No, but 50 games. So LeBron passed him this year in games played. All those other players, we don't ever hear it as a negative that they were in the league so long. And for most of those guys, when they were in the league that long, they weren't doing what LeBron's doing. They weren't productive. They weren't a reason their teams are winning. And so, look, again, I can beat it. I can beat the same drum the whole podcast. I could spend a whole podcast talking about this, but again, it all kind of circles into one big, just ridiculous kind of pot of how can we do things that we never did for other players, but make it a negative for LeBron. So that way we have ammunition to use against him in the GOAT debate. And look, I'm on record, man. Like, I think LeBron is the greatest of all time. I think he's the GOAT. But I also think if you want to say MJ's the GOAT, you have a credible argument. If you want to say Kareem's the GOAT, you have a credible argument. And I'm willing to have that talk with anybody. And I'm open to it. But the problem is there's too many people, especially on one player's side of it, who it's never about what their player did. It's about what the other player didn't do. And if that's your argument, then to me, you've already lost. But anyway, man, look, we're gonna move on again. Shout out to LeBron, man. 50,000 points in a career is insane. We're gonna see how high he can push it. Again, we'll see if he ends up kind of fizzling out the rest of his career at 20 points a game, playing losing basketball. I'm sure they'll kill him for that when they didn't kill someone else. But we'll see what happens with that when we get there. But look, man, we're gonna move on to the Lakers. Obviously, with the Luka addition. Biggest question, man, is are they contenders now? And to me, obviously right now, dealing with some injuries with Rui, LeBron, Jackson Hayes, who has become almost indispensable for the Lakers, Dorian Finney-Smith out, dealing with a lot of injuries and injuries to a lot of those guys who are the bigs on their team now. And so obviously lack of size is just going to be a problem for them. Period. They picked up Alex Len. There's a reason he's been out of the league. Jackson Hayes, he's what he is. Look, I compared him. He's similar. He reminds me of a JaVale McGee type player. Like, he's serviceable. He's good with the right pieces around him. Like, he's going to be great for Luka, great for LeBron, as we've seen, when they were all on the floor together. Like, Jackson Hayes was playing really well. And luckily in the NBA now, you can kind of get away with not having as much size. And then also with LeBron and Luka, you got two guys who 6'8", 6'9", big bodies, who can kind of play bigger than their positions, and great rebounders, both of them. So to me, I think absolutely contenders. And really the only team in the West that I could see them having a problem with is Denver. And that's really just because of Jokic, because Denver, I mean, they get it going, and then they just, to me, and don't get me wrong, because anytime you have the best player in the league, which Jokic is, you're one of the most dangerous teams in the league, if not the most dangerous. As long as through history, as long as the best player in the league has had somewhat of a solid group of guys around them, they're contenders and they can beat anybody in a playoff series. But it's just, to me, I think that they're not quite the team that I'd be afraid of as much as they were in the last couple years, And so, again, not saying that they're not contenders. Denver's definitely a contender. Not saying that I don't see them winning it, because I could see them winning it. Again, you have the best player in the league, but to me, I think that's the only real team that the Lakers, I could see them struggling with. The Thunder, to me, it's just they're too young. And then nobody else in the West really worries me. The Grizzlies, if your best player is John Morant, John Morant's great. I don't think you can win a championship or be a contender if he's your best player and Jaren Jackson's your second best player. Rockets, to me, they just don't have enough. They're young. The Warriors, possibly with the Jimmy edition. And look, I was critical of the Jimmy edition. I didn't think it was going to be much of a needle mover. Clearly it is, even if it's more so just that it gave Steph that same kind of energy you saw LeBron get when Luka came, and Steph has been cooking now. And so obviously any team that's got Steph Curry on it and somewhat reasonable cast of players around him, let alone a Jimmy Butler, who maybe we get playoff Jimmy again, they're dangerous, but I don't think they have the size or the bodies to match up with the Lakers. And so, I can't see. Denver's the only team in the West I see. And then out East, Boston. And that's about it really out there. And so to me, I think unless you consider a contender just two teams, the Lakers have got to be a contender. And look, any series they go into, even if it's against Denver, they're going to have the second and third best players in the series. And Luka is not, he's behind Joker, but it's not an insane gap. And so anytime you have two of the best three players in the series, you have a chance. It's going to come down to those role players, obviously, knocking down shots, because Luka and LeBron are going to be able to generate shots for themselves and for everybody. But I definitely see them as legitimate contenders in the NBA this year. And I think they could win a championship. Again, I think it depends on the seeding a lot. Can you avoid Denver and, get kind of gives you more time in the playoffs to get the chemistry and everything together, and then see what happens in the finals. But again, I think Denver's the only real team I would bet against them with. Not saying I would bet against them with Denver, but they're the team where I'd be like, it wouldn't shock me if they lost. Any other team in the West would shock me if they lost to them. And look, we're going to switch gears here a little bit from the Lakers, but we're going to stay with Luka. And, well, Luka adjacent. We're going to go to the Mavericks, man. and just talk about the absolute disaster that Nico Harrison has brought on this organization. And so, look, I don't think, and please, if anybody who sees this, I'm gonna clip this, and if anybody who sees this clip, if you can name me a team that had a more catastrophic self-inflicted implosion of an entire organization, sports team, put it in the comments, because this is just every single thing that could have possibly gone wrong for the Mavericks since making arguably the worst trade in NBA history has gone wrong. So we're gonna start, man. We're gonna start with the owner's comments, who came out and said, well, they had to get rid of Luka because he didn't, quote from him, have work ethic of the greats. And he mentions, Michael Jordan. I get it. Kobe Bryant. Absolutely. Yeah, no. Shaquille O'Neal. Okay, well, maybe, that maybe he slipped up, because we all know the whole reason Shaq left LA, was shipped out of LA, was because Kobe didn't like his work ethic. It was a major thing with Shaq. And then he mentions Larry Bird. And look, I don't question Larry Bird's work ethic. But when one of the reasons you let go of Luka was because, he likes to smoke hookah and drink beer, Larry Bird wouldn't be the person I would bring up, because Larry, I think, would kill a six-pack at halftime. And so, again, it's just, and look, he's an owner. I'm not expecting him to be a historian of basketball. But if you're going to make comments like this and try to trash a player on his way out, that by all accounts of players he's played with is incorrect, because everybody he's played with says he's got a crazy work ethic. And then let's even pivot to the other way. Let's say he didn't have a good work ethic. So he didn't have a good work ethic, and he's been arguably the best playoff performer over the last 3 or 4 years. He's led your team to the finals, and he's 24, 25. I'm just saying that might be a young guy who, we've seen could maybe get his work ethic together. Even if he did it a little bit. God, what kind of player are you looking at with no work ethic can lead your team to the finals? That's the guy you guys let go. And you're trashing on the way out. So, again, not asking you to be a historian, but I'm asking you to have at least a little bit of education about who you're comparing him to in the question of his work ethic. Now let's move, because, obviously it's not it. Nico Harrison, who made the trade, and the big reason for making it said, he's like, look, we have a 2 to 3 year window. We're trying to win a championship. That's why we went and got AD. And you know what? Well, let's start with the fact that now Kyrie is a torn ACL. And again, the ACL is not an overuse injury. But Kyrie Irving is a player who's had an injury history and was playing more minutes than he had ever played since Luka was traded. And actually before, because Luka had been out with injury. And now he's the only guy who can create a shot on your team. So he's playing almost 40 minutes, way above his career average. Guy who's typically injured. I'm not saying that him playing more minutes caused the injury. What I am saying is that an injury-prone player playing more minutes then means, logically speaking, he's more likely to get injured. Now, it could have been a rolled ankle. It could have been, uh, pulled hamstring. Pulled hamstring is a little bit different because, that is soft tissue is literally an overuse injury. But could have been a rolled ankle, anything like that, right? It's a freak injury. But for injury-prone players, freak injuries tend to happen a little bit more. You also had AD out because the guy you traded for in his first game, he got hurt. Another injury-prone player. So now you built yourself a 2 to 3 year window with your core being two guys who have dealt with injuries frequently throughout their career. But you know what? I'm gonna play this like the injuries never happened. If your window is 2 to 3 years and your core you have to think. This team was built around Luka. So it's a lot of guys outside of Kyrie, but it's a lot of guys bigs who can rim run for lobs, wings who can play defense and shoot the three. Because Luka is going to get his, but he's also going to generate you a bunch of open shots, and he's a willing passer. We've seen he's averaged double-digit assists. That's not Kyrie. Kyrie doesn't create for others. Like he can, and he'll get some assists. But to ask Kyrie, because the best way for you to win and maximize your team is to have a player that's ball centric who can spread the ball out. That's not Kyrie's game. So now essentially you've built a team that doesn't fit around your superstars. And yes, Anthony Davis gets to play the 4, and he's going to have a mismatch at the 4. But again, it's just he's not going to get those easy looks that he was getting with LeBron. And so now, the question is, AD, will he sit out the rest of the year? I think he should, just because why would you come back and play with the New Orleans Mavericks? We've seen what happens. He's already out. They're already out of the playoffs. Get him fully healthy. We'll see. At this point, it's looking like Kyrie is going to miss next year. So now you're 2 years down in your 3-year window, right? All this has happened. So you trade off Luka, who, every team hopes to be able to draft a player of Luka's caliber at some point. Because it gives you at least, 10, 12 years of relevancy and contending. So you do that. Owner comes out. GM comes out. They're all trashing Luka. Kyrie goes down for the season. AD goes down. Talks are he might not even play with the Mavs now. And in the most tone-deaf move, definitely top 5 tone-deaf moves ever in sports, the Mavs decided to raise the season ticket prices. And so, look, I'm sure that was a decision made before the Luka trade, before Kyrie goes down, before AD goes down. But your fan base is already putting caskets in front of your stadium, in front of your arena. I don't think I would. You just have to know better. Push it back. Wait a year. Whatever. Let this start to blow over some. And then to add fuel to the fire, since Luka has been with the Lakers prior to the LeBron injury, the Lakers have been playing great. And Luka hasn't even been playing great. And we're talking about them as contenders. So you're already going to be 2 of your 3-year window is done. So maybe you got a year. And then what? Because that's going to be you're going to have 1 year to try to develop chemistry between Kyrie, if he's the same player. Obviously we hope he is. AD, who's going to be older now. You're talking about 2 years from now, AD. Who knows what he's going to look like? And you're going to have to try to build that team around him, get chemistry in that season, and then win a championship. And that's the 1 year you're going to have of your opening of your self-proclaimed 2 to 3 year window. And so I don't know. And to make matters worse, my guess is Kyrie probably opts into his contract this year. And now you got a real, this next year, you got a real question of, okay, now what are we going to do? Because you almost have to pay Kyrie. Because what are you going to do? Let him walk? Then what do you have? You have Anthony Davis with a year left on his contract by the time you're in year 3 of your 3-year window. So again, yeah, again, everything that could have gone wrong does. And you know what? Maybe in 4 years, 3 years, maybe they do blow it up after this year, 2 years from now, whatever. And try to rebuild it. Bad news? They don't have their 2027, 2028, 2029, or 2030 first round picks. And the teams, so there's 2 swaps in there. The teams they have the swaps with, OKC, which you presume in a couple years is still going to be pretty good, and the Spurs, who you would think by, I think that's 4 years from now when they have a swap at the Spurs. Wemby, again, hopefully Wemby's okay, and he's going to have the career everybody thinks he's going to have. But they might be a good team as well. So in reality, you're drafting no one for 2 of those years, and you're drafting at the back half of the draft for the other 2 years. So 4 of the next 6 drafts, you got nothing. Again, if you guys have an idea of a worse self-inflicted collapse, please let me know. But look, let's move on. We're going to go ahead. We're going to talk about some winning basketball now. And so we've had a lot of games, man. A lot of games here over the last week that are big-time games. Going to start with the Lakers-Celtics. So obviously, look, Celtics got out big. And then in kind of Celtics fashion, gave up the lead, made a game out of it. Unfortunate, this is the game LeBron did go down after they had cut it down to 4. And so, who knows what that game comes out like. But look, and we're going to talk about the Celtics more as far as their play style when we talk about them in the Thunder. But look, the Lakers, they ran the same defense they have been running, which has worked a lot, which is, force 3-point shots from bad 3-point shooters. The worst 3-point shooters, they're giving up 3-point shots to the guys they want to give up 3-point shots to and living with the results. The Celtics are just a team that it's kind of hard to do that with because they can all shoot. And so, look, you saw that. I mean, Tatum had a monster game. Wannabe face of the league, Tatum. Jalen Brown had a monster game. Look, the officiating around Luka has been bad, but seems like it's gotten a lot worse. But look, what I think, again, the Celtics are prone to let teams back in it, so no lead is big enough for the Celtics. I think they're clearly the better team, definitely more chemistry. But the Lakers showed they can play with them by cutting it back down to 4, and they made a game out of it. And so, again, in a series, would I probably lean maybe Celtics? Depends, but wouldn't shock me as far as like the Celtics are a better put together team with more chemistry, who have played together for a long time, but play a brand of basketball where they can get big leads, but also give up big leads or get behind big early. And so, yeah, but again, great game. I think it was a nice kind of measuring stick for the Lakers, especially when LeBron was in the game and they had obviously they didn't have a big, no Jackson Hayes, but it's no Jackson Hayes, no Rui. So I think they're missing 2. I can't remember if DFS played that game, but missing at least 2 starters. And so, but good measuring stick still. Moving on, Thunder Nuggets, obviously they split their series in back-to-back games. And we're going to talk about it a little more here in a minute. But obviously, MVP matchup. And look, those two teams, again, I'm a little bit more hesitant to believe in the Thunder come playoff time, just because lack of experience. I don't know, you know, how they're gonna look. I know Shea obviously is great. Probably not going to get the same calls he gets in the regular season in the playoffs. How much does that change up his game? Um, and just we'll see what happens with Jalen Williams. We'll see what happens as far as if Chet performs in the playoffs, if Jalen performs in the playoffs, what they look like. But I just tend to not quite believe in younger teams. I think the Thunder remind me of a team like Memphis a few years back, where they were the first seed, and we were all looking at them like great regular season team, maybe a year or two away, and that's what it feels like to me for the Thunder. Great regular season team, young team, a year or two, maybe we're talking different. But yeah. And then look, we saw Joker in the game they won with. I mean, again, shows why he's the best player in the world, and shows why they're going to be a contender as long as it's not him and five YMCA guys. So, and then lastly, look, the game last night, 2 nights ago, last night, Celtics Thunder. Anyway, Celtics Thunder. Thunder with the big win. And look, I know the big kind of story coming out that every Celtics fan wants to has been crying about on, social media is, oh my God, they shot 14 free throws in the fourth quarter and we shot 12 all game. Oh my God, the refs, the foul baiting. And you guys seem to forget the fact that 2/3 of your shots were from three. 2/3. I think it was like 20 shots you guys shot that weren't threes. And so look, I fully embrace the analytics. I think there's a big place for them in basketball. However, analytics are about at the rim and threes. It's not threes with a few other shots sprinkled in. And the big reason for that is one, I mean, you go to the rim, you get free throws. You're shooting jump shots, you don't. It's why the big thing for the last few years is the Lakers free throw discrepancy. Well, when you got three guys really, with AD, LeBron, and Austin Reeves who go to the hole and draw contact, they're going to get free throws. As opposed to, a team like the Warriors had been over the last few years where it's like, okay, it's mostly jumpers. Or as the Celtics are, a lot of jumpers. Celtics threes, shot 60 something threes. And so, it's what it is. Like, I don't, it's not a hard concept to understand that if you take jump shots, you don't get many free throws. And so if you take 2/3 of your shots from the 3-point line, you're not going to get many free throws as a team who is attacking you. And that's what Shea does. You can call it foul baiting, you can call it whatever you want. But when Kobe was doing it, we praised him for it. When Michael was doing it, we praised him for it. And if you don't think Michael and Kobe were foul baiting, I think Shea's free throw attempt numbers per game are right in line with Michael's. And again, there's side by side videos of some of the fouls that Shea is drawing that Kobe drew with the exact same footwork and moves. And so it's what it is. Now, does he, maybe sell the contact when he's driving the lane? Sure. It's not flopping. It's not foul baiting. He's selling contact. People want to talk about, oh, well, the Jalen Brown where he hooked his arm. Well, Jalen Brown had his arm across his chest. Players are taught if there's a hand out, same thing at the 3-point line. You rip right through it. Because it's a foul. It's an easy foul. That's not foul baiting. That's bad defense. And so, yeah. But look, Thunder, again, maybe proving me wrong with the fact that they beat the Nuggets and Celtics. Again, We'll see what happens with them in the playoffs. But as far as a team in the regular season, no, they're great. And it's going to move us right into the MVP talk. So, look, big thing has been, obviously it's a two-man race. Shea versus Joker. And I know, if you ask anybody who's a Denver fan, I'm sure I could call my brother up right now and he'll give me, if you didn't know, my brother's a big-time Denver fan. But if I called him up right now, I'm sure he would explain to me very eloquently why it's not even close and why Joker is clearly the MVP. And what I would say is, okay, so then Luka was the MVP last year. And no. Because every argument that I had to watch Nuggets fans and Nuggets Twitter say and post on every social media platform they could find last year was, yeah, Luka's having like historically an incredible season, something we've never seen before. But Joker's getting the wins. And he's playing well. Okay. So like Shea's doing this year. Well, Luka was a 5 seed. Yeah, but he was 7 games back of first. You guys are 11 back of first. And so, look, I get it. Look, and you're always going to cop for your guy, right? Like, Nuggets fans are always going to say there's a reason why Jokic should win every MVP. Bucks fans are going to say there's a reason why Giannis should win every MVP. But there's got to be consistency around it. And so I'm gonna spout off some numbers here and show you why you can't have it both ways for Jokic. So Shea this year, right, is averaging 33, 5, and 6 on 53% from the field and 37 from 3, with the 1 seed 11 wins up on the 2 seed. Incredible stats. 1 seed, 11 wins up. Joker this year. Now, again, Joker is having a great year. 29, 13, and 10, averaging a triple-double. 57% from the field, 43% from 3. They're going to end up as anywhere between the 2 to 4. We'll see kind of where it falls. Numbers are better. Yeah. But let's look at last year. So Joker last year, who won the MVP, 26.5, 12.5, and 9, 58%, 36% from 3. Luka last year, 34, 9, and 10 on 50% from the field, 38% from 3. So lower field goal percentage, more points by almost double digits, more assists, less rebounds, lower field goal percentage, higher three-point percentage. I would say Luka's numbers are better last year. Now, was the gap between Joker and Luka's numbers last year roughly the same as Joker's and Shea's numbers this year? I would say maybe. I would almost say it was probably closer between Luka and Joker last year. I'd say Shea's has a little bit more distance from as far as like just the overall points scored. 33 a game is crazy. But anyways, let's just call it a wash. Last year, the determining factor was wins. That's what you guys said. The great numbers plus the wins. So this year, it's no longer about great numbers. It's about great numbers, not the wins. We don't care about the wins anymore. Great numbers. Look at its historic season, like Luka's last year. So again, it's just I get you riding for your guy. I do. I totally understand it. But at some point, there's got to be some just consistency around your arguments. And look, I get it. Joker is the best player in the world. If your argument, is, he's the best player. Great. Never mattered before. If that was the case, then we can retroactively go back and reorganize all the MVPs in history. I'm sure Jordan fans won't like that. But we can do that. Like Jordan's going to have way more. LeBron's going to have a ton more. Kareem's going to probably have more. You know, like we can do that. But it's that's never been what the MVP is. And so there is historic context that goes into it because we do use these things to rank players all time. And for us to change and for voters to change the way they've done it because you want your guy to win more, like it's not how it works. And so to me, Shea's the MVP. Giving Joker a fourth MVP. I mean, look, I'm not saying he doesn't deserve it, but historically, to win your fourth MVP is insane. And it's usually done by guys with multiple championships, which Joker might get there. But it's just at this point, it's hard to justify. I'm looking at it's tough to say because I think Jokic is a top 15 player of all time. But when you're talking about four MVPs, you're talking about top 7 guys of all time. And so I think he'll probably end up winning another one. If he does only win the one championship, how is that going to kind of historically play out? I don't know. But to me, Shea is the MVP this year. It's I don't think there's any credible argument for Jokic to win last year and this year. That makes sense. So, anyways, talking about ranked players and where they are and GOATs and everything, Shaquille O'Neal, in what's become his second worst quote of the last couple of weeks, we're not even going to talk about the fact that he thought Chauncey Billups was coaching the Pistons. This is the guy that you guys say is a credible basketball source and we should trust everything he says. But, we're not going to talk about that one because that's just laughably bad. And laughably bad that no one else on the panel checked him on it. Like, hey, Shaq, Chauncey Coates is Portland, man. None of them. Chuck, Danny, nobody. Like, this is the show you guys swear knows basketball. But anyways, Shaq says Steph Curry deserves to be in the GOAT conversation. And Steph Curry is incredible. Steph Curry may have changed the game more than anybody up to this point. And no, he does not belong in the GOAT conversation. Top 10? Sure. Yep. I mean, it's weird. I think Magic ranks higher than him all time. I think Steph fits better in basketball, if that makes sense. I know. I think Nick Rice said it best, where it's like, and I completely agree. I have Magic ranked ahead of him. But in any starting five, all-time starting five I have, I got to take Curry. He just fits better with the other players. And he fits better in every system, which is, look, that is something that has made him so great is that he can fit with great players. He can be the best player on the team. He can be, whether you want to call him the best player or second best player when Kevin Durant is. I mean, clearly the team was like their number one option was Kevin Durant. So he can play alongside a number one option, or he can be the number one option seamlessly, which is a testament to his greatness. And like I said, I have him top 10, but the GOAT conversation is just a different conversation, man. And when you just stack him up historically from an accolade standpoint, from a basketball player standpoint, it's just when you look at Michael, LeBron, Kareem, I don't put Kobe in this conversation, but I'll even Kobe, right? I'll even put him in there because I don't even want to have that debate in my comments. When you look at those 4 guys, and Steph Curry, you're talking about three all-time great defenders and offensive players and a great offensive player. Now, not saying he's a terrible defender, because look, he does what he can do. Like, Steph Curry is probably one of the best not good defenders ever. Like, it's just, he's just not, to be a great defender, especially in the league now, you got to win the genetic lottery, and Steph just didn't do that. Like, Steph's just not, he doesn't have the requisite genetics to be an incredible defender in the NBA, like a Jordan, a LeBron, a Kareem. And so you can't be somebody who in their prime was hunted in the biggest moments and be in the GOAT conversation, to me. And I just also just don't think he belongs there. I think he's probably in that 8 to 9 area, 8 to 10. But yeah, he hasn't he's been dominant, but when you're talking about even guys like Magic, where it's like Magic for like 9 straight years has won some of the most insane like accolades and just like MVP finishes and things like that, where it's just like, and Magic didn't really play defense great either. But like, yeah, it's tough because I can't even put him there. Like I said, I think Steph's 8 to 10. Now, if you want to talk about influence, if you want to talk about changing the game, yeah, I'd probably put Steph above everybody, because he was the first guy who really showed that you can win a championship jump shooting. Before that, it was like, no, you can't do that. You can't be a jump shooter and jump shooting team and win a championship. And they did. And so, again, he changed the way the game is played. He changed the way kids play now. But as far as GOAT conversation, no. He's not even better than Shaq. And Shaq, like, what are you talking about, man? So now to go to an actual GOAT conversation. And so I thought I said it earlier, but where we're going with this, LeBron and Stephen A. Smith. And so, to me, I think that now, I know Stephen A. Smith went on his media tour, right? Now that he got the LeBron spotlight. But let's not forget, okay? He at one point said, well, all I'm doing is critiquing Bronny's basketball. And okay, but let's dive into it. You critiqued 6 minutes of Bronny's basketball, and then when he played well, you didn't critique it at all. And then you came out with the I'm asking you as a father to stop this. Now that is not critiquing his basketball. That is not critiquing Bronny's basketball. That is taking a shot at LeBron and his parenting, which is what he came at Stephen A. Smith about. And now look, I know, because I see all the comments, it's, well, you shouldn't do that in front of everybody. You shouldn't check him courtside. Well, let's go back to when LeBron and his camp reached out to Stephen A. on the phone, and he went on TV and said, that's weak. He also has said, I sit courtside at more games than anybody else. I'm at 100 and something games every year courtside. If you ever have something to say to me, come up and say it to me. So LeBron did. But now that's a soft move. And now Stephen A. is the victim. So let's be very clear here. Stephen A. said, please come up to me courtside if you have an issue with what I say. So LeBron did. So then Stephen A. said, you should have called me. That's weak. But LeBron did, and his team did reach out privately, and you went publicly and called them weak for that. You said you were critiquing Bronny's basketball. LeBron didn't come at you about that. Now, also, you do only critique Bronny There's never any positive around Bronny. How he's more than justified his draft position, which I heard from everybody. He was a nepotism pick, right? Well, he's putting up better numbers in the G League than anybody drafted around him. He's putting up comparable numbers, putting up better numbers in the NBA than anybody drafted around him. But you know what? I must have missed the first take episode where they were talking about those picks. Or you know what? I probably missed the first take episodes where they were talking about the top 3 picks. Because I, I I'm sure Stephen A talked about them, and I'm sure he critiques them just as much. But anyways, so you're critiquing his basketball, but then you said I'm asking you as a father to stop this. That's not a basketball critique, and that's what LeBron checked you on. And so now you're doing a media tour acting like you're a victim, which you're not. You're not. You got everything you asked for, but now because you got checked in front of everybody on video where you looked like you were getting he treated you, it looked like LeBron treated you like his son who was in trouble. And he did it. We come to find out he did that in between the third and fourth quarter when he left the bench early and then walked down Stephen A's favorite team, the Knicks, and beat them in overtime when they were down going into the fourth. If that would have been Michael Jordan, oh my God, the myth, the myth of Michael Jordan, the mythological status of that story, I think people would have gotten that tattooed on themselves. Stephen A. Smith, in his last breath, may have talked about how he did that. But no. It was LeBron. So Stephen A. is going to go on his podcast tour and talk about how weak it was. And when in reality, he got everything he asked for. He went privately. Stephen A. called that week, said, I'm at games courtside. Talk to me then. So he came at him courtside. It's what it is, man. And now him playing the victim in the whole thing, it's just crazy. All right, man, look, so we're coming up on the hour mark, so we are moving to the NFL. I'm going to cut out some of it. I'm going to talk about some of it. And then we're going to wrap up here. And we're going to do a lot more NFL with a lot more of the moves and the free agency moves as we kind of probably on our next episode. See if we can get Joey on to talk about that, but we'll see. But one thing I want to talk about, just because it was a big time storyline, Darius Slay went on a podcast talking about, the elite quarterbacks and talked about, I'm pretty sure everybody in the NFL, GMs, blah, 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 knows that the elite quarterbacks are Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar, and Burrow. And said that I can't put Hurts in that elite quarterback status. And so he caught a lot of heat for this. Personally, actually, I don't really disagree with him too much. And I love Hurts. I don't think he's an elite quarterback. I think he's probably the 5th best quarterback. I think he gets that title now. Like, he's 5th. Maybe you could probably put him 4th above Burrow. I don't know if I consider Burrow like that elite quarterback anymore after just kind of the last couple of years. I don't know. Joe Burrow basically got that status because he beat Patrick Mahomes in a playoff game to lose in the Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts beat Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl to win the Super Bowl. So I would say there's, to me right now, the elite quarterbacks, it's probably 3, which is Patrick, Josh, and Lamar. And then I'd say you can probably Burrow, Hurts, 4th, right on the outside of elite. But I think, so I gave you all the Jamal Murray comp for Hurts the other day. I found a better one. Jalen Hurts is Jimmy Butler. During the season, like, he's a star. Jimmy Butler is a star in the NBA. Never really puts up crazy numbers. Jalen Hurts doesn't really put up crazy numbers in the regular season. Just kind of does what they need to do to win. Jimmy does what he needs to do to win during the regular season, get the wins, get to the playoffs. And then playoff time comes around and they both become Now, their playoff version, their big game versions, playoff Jimmy, Super Bowl Jalen, elite. But you can't be elite based off of an eighth of the season. And so I think, like, to me, that's the perfect comp. Like, because they're like, Jalen's a star, Jimmy's a star, like they're stars. But no one would look at them in the regular season and be like, that's one of the three best players in the game. Just wouldn't do it. But then playoff time comes around and they bring it to a different level. And so, again, I don't think Hurts is elite. I think I would probably rank him fourth, fifth right now, swapping him or Burrow around. But again, I don't think, elite is. I think it's clear that there's a gap between those three: Josh, Lamar, Patrick. I think there's a credible gap. I think there's a credible gap between Patrick and then Josh and Lamar, and then there's a gap between Josh and Lamar and the Hurts, Burrow, Jaden Daniels, whoever you want to put in there. But yeah, so that's kind of my thoughts on that. I think he got a lot more heat than he probably deserved for it, just because, I mean, I get it. It's your, at the time it was his quarterback. And so you'd like him to ride for him a little bit more, but who knows? Next, man, we're going to talk about the Bengals, because the Bengals, speaking of Joe Burrow, are, I think, dangerously they're going to start getting to a point here in the next year or two where they're going to be dangerously close to losing Joe Burrow. So look, they franchised T. Higgins because clearly they're not going to pay him because they don't pay anybody. They're going to end up paying Jamar, but they've been waiting. And now look, you got Myles Garrett, who just signed this massive contract for a non-QB. So the price just went up on him, and they already don't seem like they want to pay him. Which, look, if you're the Bengals, this contract could have been done last year for what, $5-6 million less a year. Instead, they're waiting. And look, the longer they wait, more guys are going to get paid. More guys are going to try to reset that non-quarterback market, and you're going to pay more. And look, Jamar can ask for whatever he wants. He's got all the leverage. And so they franchise T. Higgins because obviously they want to keep that group together. Joe Burrow wants it. I get it. But now you're kind of stuck because second time you franchise him, now he's going to be a true free agent, and he's gone next year. Now, I think, I mean, if you want to go for it, go for it. Bring back T. Higgins. Make your Super Bowl run. Hopefully you get it. Or what more likely will happen, because on the other side of the football, they're terrible. I think their DC, who was actually solid, he got let go. So we don't know how that defense is going to, an already terrible defense, we don't know how it's going to look. And they're not re-signing Hendrickson, and they're allowing him to go seek a trade. So they're going to lose their best defensive player that I think he was like, he was an absurd amount percentage-wise of their sacks and QB pressures. So you're going to lose him. And so what I think likely happens is by mid-season, you know you're cooked. And you can try to move T. Higgins then, but, maybe you get a third. Because unless a team is desperately desperate for a receiver, then wait till the offseason. Wait another half season. Sign him straight away, because you're going to have to give him the money anyways, but you don't have to give up a draft pick. So I think the Bengals handcuff themselves here. They're going to be bad again, I think. You had a historically good offense last year and were bad. And now your defense is, from what I see, going to get worse. And so that's, to me, says that even if you have another historically great offseason again, or season offensive year again, that you're still going to probably not be great. And you're not going to get anything for Higgins now. And, we'll see. You see what you get from Hendrickson. But again, like, no team is going to, they know he's unhappy. No team is going to open the bank for him to send you a bunch of picks or whatever. So, again, Bengals just total mismanagement of the organization. Not as bad as the Dallas Mavericks, though. So, we'll see. But as of now, but no. So, yeah, we'll see what happens with them. But again, I think they're in for a bad season. And then we'll see how many more years of Joe Burrow, because for a team that consistently does not want to pay their players or extend their players, that's typically not a good place to be at if you're a quarterback trying to win championships. So, and then we're going to stay in the division, and we're going to go to the Steelers. So look, Steelers pick up DK Metcalf. I think, can be good. Really depends on their quarterback. And as of right now, it seems like Aaron Rodgers is going to be the quarterback. So my issue here is, and look, y'all know I'm not a Russ fan. I think he fits better I think Russ is a better quarterback if you're going to have DK Metcalf and George Pickens on the same team, which, by the way, that is just a diabolical duo of receivers. But look, when you look at George Pickens, you look at DK, both of them, what do they do best? Go balls. And Rodgers that's not really his game anymore. It's Russ's game, and Russ throws a good one. Russ, for what it is, he throws a good 50-50 ball. So, to me, Russ would be the answer here. I mean, y'all know how I feel already. I think they should blow it all up and either go all in on like trying to move up to draft a quarterback, or be bad and get a quarterback next year, because I don't think this is really the year to do it. But no matter what, I think even if you say you draft a quarterback in late first or the second, like a Jalen Milrose or somebody like that, say you draft somebody like that, project guy, I don't want Rodgers in front of him. I think your personnel fits better with Russ. I think you can bench Russ if he's bad for a rookie quarterback. You can't bench Aaron Rodgers. You're going to have to cut him. And so, yeah, and I just think the personnel doesn't fit with what Rodgers does best. It fits better with what Russ does best. So the reports are that they made an offer to Rodgers and they're waiting to see, and Aaron's kind of just hanging out. So we'll see. People thought it was going to get done 2 days ago, and so it hasn't yet. But yeah, I think if I'm the Steelers, again, clearly they're not going to blow it up and they're not going to try to go all in. So I think Russ is the clear option here. But in true Steelers fashion, it looks like they're going to go with Rodgers and be a 9-10 win team again, keep Tomlin's streak alive, and get bounced in the first round. And lastly, man, we're going to finish up. So we got another big game tonight, Lakers and Bucks. And so, look, biggest thing for the Lakers, and obviously it's not good that LeBron's out. Clearly, like, you need chemistry. He's an older player, so, I mean, any injury is not great. You never want that. You want him to be on the floor. But it does force Luka to try and just kind of work his way back into being the Luka that we've all seen his whole career up to this point. Now, it is a totally different cast of players where, like I said before, the Mavericks built a team around him that perfectly complemented him in 3-and-D guys and a rim running center. I think Jackson Hayes is still going to be out, so they're not going to have a rim running center. The Lakers have some good defensive players that don't shoot the three great, or they have, some guys who shoot the three okay, and, they're not great defensive players. So I think Dorian Finney-Smith should be back this game, so that's big. That gives them that kind of corner three defensive player that Luka's used to. But yeah, we'll see if they start Alex Len. I think they probably will because of Lopez as the center. But look, it's gonna be on Luka for this next week or so. And look, LeBron going down couldn't have happened in a worse time because you get the Bucks tonight, then you have the Nuggets, Suns, Spurs, Nuggets, Bucks. Then he may be back from what the sounds are either on the he could be back around the time of the Bulls Magic. I'm almost wondering if they seeing how they're doing, if they can Bucks, Nuggets, Suns, Spurs, Nuggets, Bucks. Brutal. If they can 3-3, I think if they can go 3-3, maybe they hold them out of the Bulls Magic, depending on how Luka looks, just to give him that little bit of extra time. But look, it's good because it lets Luka get back into just playing basketball. The trade clearly shook him up as far as, just mentally. But they need him to get back to being Luka that we know. And so this kind of forces him to do it because he's going to be the only option for him. So they're going to go as he goes over these next few games. We'll see what they can do. But if they can win 3 of those next 6 against, you got Suns and Spurs, winnable games, but 4 of those are against the Bucks and the Nuggets. And so you got to get one of those, hopefully. You can get 2 of them, incredible. But like they showed against the Nets, they can also lose against anybody. So those Suns and Spurs games are far from guaranteed. But yeah, so we'll see how they go with that. But Luka definitely needs to step up, and he's going to need to outperform Giannis, need to outperform Jokic for them to have a chance. So, look, that's episode 31, y'all. I appreciate y'all as always. Like I said, we're going to be back, so be on the lookout. We're probably going to change up the schedule a little bit, go either Wednesday and Sunday or Thursday and Sunday, now that we don't have football on. So it gives y'all a little sports on Sunday. A little driving to church or driving around the city, whatever y'all doing, y'all can listen to a little sports talk. So anyways, like I said, appreciate y'all. And we'll see y'all next time.